Should Donald Trump set a date for the Ayatollah's departure? And if so, what should that date be?
Well, I think he should have done that a long time ago. Indeed, I think the U.S. has watched Iran sustain its regime, oppress its people, engage in supporting the world's worst terrorist, and actively pursue a nuclear weapons program for a long, long time. And we've let it happen, and Israel and others have paid the consequences for it. So I think the way, as you say, Bush 41 did it was he sent Jim Baker to Geneva to give a letter to Tariq Aziz, the Iraqi foreign minister at the time, and Tariq Aziz wouldn't even pick the letter up off the center of the table, which was a pretty good indication of what was coming. I wouldn't dignify or legitimize negotiations with the Ayatollahs because you can't trust them. They've never shown any inclination to give up their nuclear weapons program, and by allowing them to go through the fiction of negotiations or even the 2015 nuclear agreement, we've simply made conditions in the Middle East and around the world much worse.
Yeah, well, I think we've all been proven right, those of us who said the 2015 nuclear deal was a disaster. You among them. This was Donald Trump last night on Air Force One. Take a listen.
We could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential. We had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
To be fair, right, there is an advantage of the strategic ambiguity. It was how there was complete and total surprise on the Iranians' part to the B-2 strikes by the U.S. back in June. Is there a chance that's what's going on here?
Well, it's possible, but you can also do it by saying nothing and let them get spun up, let them imagine things, let them wear out their defense capabilities worrying about it. We don't know what Trump is going to do. He certainly has to use military force to vindicate the red line that he established during the recent protests in Iran, where he told the people, keep protesting, take control of your institutions, help is on its way. And help wasn't on the way, and tens of thousands of them were murdered. The real question is not, will he just strike? Will it be a one and done? But will he cooperate with the Iranian opposition? Will he do strategic bombing of Iran to destroy or severely weaken the institutions of state power that threaten us, threaten Israel, threaten our Arab friends, and threaten the Iranian people? Because if he does that, if we're committed really to doing what we can to help the opposition overthrow the regime, then I think that begins to make sense, and this buildup of a very substantial amount of military assets makes more sense.
Yeah, Wall Street Journal reporting that the United States State Department was involved in spending 6,000 Starlinks into the Iranian protesters to try to help them get the word out. The flip side to this is one that has often been discussed, which is the alternative to the Ayatollah could be just a much worse Ayatollah. Lindsey Graham was in Israel talking about that yesterday.
The best answer to all the problems created by Iran is regime change. The best answer is for the people to take the place of the Ayatollah. I do not believe they're in the streets to build more nuclear weapons. I think they're in the streets for their life. The risk of regime change is real. There are unknowns, but let me just say this. I'm willing to take that risk.
So I think we can all agree nothing could be worse for the Iranian people than the current Iranian regime that slaughters its own people, shoots them in hospitals, and the like. Do we have any idea, though, better, say, than we had in Libya or in Egypt when the Muslim Brotherhood took over, or in Syria with the civil war that we saw break out, that if there is that sustained bombing campaign in Iran that you talk about, that regime change will result in a better regime for the United States?
Well, it seems hard to believe there could be a worse regime, and I think we should stop calling it the regime of the Ayatollahs. I admit that I do it all the time, too, but really the governing force in Iran today is the Revolutionary Guard. The Ayatollahs provide religious legitimacy and ideological cover, but it's the Guard that runs the ballistic missile and nuclear program. It's the Revolutionary Guard that controls 40% of the economy, and if we destroy the Guard, then things are very different. What we need the opposition to be doing is finding generals and other officers in the regular military, maybe even in the Revolutionary Guard, who will come over to their side of encouraging people in the rank and file of both the regular forces and the IRGC that the state that they see now isn't going to last for long, and they ought to get on the winning side. I hope we can avoid a lot of turmoil, but let's face it, this regime has been in power for over 46 years. It's been bloodthirsty. There will be scores settled. The real question for the United States is, will we and our allies in the region be free of nuclear threats and terror attacks? And that's worth the chance if the opposition thinks the moment is there. And I think they're very close to it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.